Can you please state your full name and spell your name for the record?
Sure. It's Ashley Squires, ASHLEY-SQUIRES.
And then are you employed?
Yes.
Where are you currently?
I'm the Chief Academic Officer at the Diocese of Cleveland.
And how long have you had that position?
6 months.
Did you have a job prior to working for the Diocese of Cleveland?
Yes, I was the middle school principal at Deep Prep, Woodland House.
And can you tell us where that school is located?
9201 Crane Avenue, so 92nd and Crane. Yeah,
And how long have you been employed at that school?
2.5 years.
And when did your employment there start?
January of 2015, 14. Now I'm thinking, I can't remember the exact date.
And when did it end?
June of 2017.
Can you tell us what some of your responsibilities were at that school?
Sure. I was in charge of the day-to-day responsibilities of running my school. I was responsible for making sure that my kids got to school every day, got home every day, make sure the teachers were doing the right work, coaching teachers, working with our families, things like that.
When you say you're responsible for making sure students get to and from school every day, can you explain that to us, please?
Sure. My responsibility was to ensure the welfare of my students. Oh, sure. Sorry. I was responsible for I opened the door every day in the morning for my kiddos to come in. And I was out at the bus stops every day, making sure they got on the bus, either the yellow bus or the RTA, to go home.
And what time was your school building typically open?
We typically opened at 7:30 a.m. However, I had started a tutoring program at my school, so we opened our doors at 6:50 in the morning.
Can you tell me about that?
I had a lot of students that just were that were below grade level. And so to support my students that were below grade level, also realizing that a lot of my students would come to school early anyway, I wanted to make sure our doors were open and make sure that all kids could be in the building and safe.
And when did you start the process of opening the school early?
That was September of 2017.
So you were still working at East Prep in September of 2017?
Yes. I'm sorry, that was September 2016.
September 2016.
Yeah.
What were your interactions like with your students?
I mean, I love my kids. I prided myself on knowing every student's name so that, I knew all my kids. I would say our relationship was more, I felt more like a parent, I guess, than I did as like a teacher. I love my students. I still love my students. And I just felt really connected with them all.
How many students did you have at your school?
At the end of last year, it was about 300.
Did you have a student at your school by the name of Alianna DeFreeze?
Yes.
When did you first meet
Alianna came to my school on a school tour with her mother in her 6th grade year. So she was with us for 2 school years.
Tell me what you remember about your first interactions with her.
When her mother and her came for a school tour, they had gotten a private school tour. That was something we did typically at my school. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Tell me about your first interaction with Alianna on the school tour.
She was really bright and smiling, and her mom was really interested in finding a school for her that was safe. And I remember telling mom that she was putting her in good hands.
Were you on your first interaction with Alianna during the tour?
Yes or no? That was the question. You asked me yes or no. That was the question. Yes.
What was that interaction?
They were coming in for an individual tour. Mom and Mrs. Cooper and Alianna were coming to my school for an individual tour. Mom had mentioned wanting a safer place for Alianna. And I remember telling Mom that she was in good hands.
Did Alianna eventually end up enrolling in your school?
Yes.
When did she enroll?
I don't recall the exact date.
Do you remember the school year?
She was 6th grade.
What was your level of interaction with Alianna after she enrolled in the school?
I'd say daily. I saw her daily. Like I mentioned, I opened the door for school every day for my students. I greeted everyone by name. I was in and out of classrooms every day, coaching teachers, and so I had a lot of interactions with students in the lunchroom. Alianna, because I was her first point of contact at ePrep, she felt comfortable coming to me often.
You mentioned that she started her early morning tutoring program after school. Was Alianna part of that tutoring program?
Yes.
I want to turn your attention to January 26th of 2017. Were you working at the school that day?
I was not there at the school that day.
Where were you that day?
I was in Texas
When did you return back to Cleveland from Texas?
that evening.
Did there come a point in time that day where you received an update about one of your students?
No.
When was the first time you received an update or report about one of your students?
We had parent-teacher conferences that night, so when I flew back from Texas, I went immediately to school. And when I'm getting there, one of Alianna's homeroom teacher came to me immediately and said, I spoke to Mrs. Cooper to tell Mrs. Cooper, called Mrs. Lawrence, her homeroom teacher, to say she was canceling her meeting that afternoon for parent-teacher conferences. And Mrs. Lawrence said to Mrs. Cooper, Alianna's mother, I figured you were going to cancel because we thought she was homesick. Sorry, that's my phone.
Are we still on January 26th?
I'm getting my dates confused. Are we talking about the day we knew she was missing?
Yes.
Yes, that was that day.
After you discovered that Alianna was missing, what did you do?
I put my coat on, and my director of curriculum and instruction went out to the library to see if she was there.
How were you doing this?
My first instinct was maybe she just didn't come to school because she was at the library. I don't know. That was my instinct. I called Mrs. Cooper as well.
Why was that your first instinct?
The library is down the street, and I just wanted to think the best, that she was somewhere safe.
Had you had any instances where Alianna had not reported to school like that before?
No.
You say that rather quickly. How do you know that?
She was never absent. She was never absent, and she was the type of student that loved coming to school. So I don't have the data in front of me, but I know she was at school all the time.
After you checked the library, what did you do next?
We got in my car and we drove to the library at our first bus stop on Kinsman to see if she was there. From there, we went to the daycare to see if they had video of her from their outdoor video to see if she was at the bus stop, but we came out, we didn't know.
Ms. Squires, why are you doing all of this?
She's one of my kids. She's one of my kids.
Ms. Squires, what was the next thing that you did?
As all that was happening, I was on the phone with Mrs. Cooper, while also calling the police to follow up. At that point, the police were at ePrep, so I went back to school to talk with the officer.
So at this point, you're aware that the police are involved,
Yes.
and you're still doing things to look for, correct?
Mhm.
When you go back to your school, can you tell me what happens next?
The police officer was there. He wanted to take my statement and learn more about Alianna. At the time, the officer had felt like maybe she was just a typical kid and run away, and I had told the officer that was in my gut. I knew Alianna, that was not something she would do. And so he told me that he would go back out to the community, and myself and 3 of my staff members continued to call parents and call students to find out if anyone had any understanding of where she was.
Ms. Spires, at this point in time, the police are involved, correct?
Yes, sorry.
But you're still, you and your staff are still looking for Alianna.
Yes.
Explain to me why you're doing that.
At E-Prep, every kid's our kid, and so I couldn't go home knowing that we hadn't resolved where she was. So everyone had an equal responsibility in finding her.
Ms. Spires, what happens next?
I leave school at 9 o'clock that night. I go home, I call Mrs. Cooper to let, we stay on the phone that entire night. I remember Mrs. Cooper calling me around midnight that night, just keeping in touch. The next morning, we set up a system where my school and a few of our other schools brought teachers and staff over, and we canvassed the area with flyers and just gave out flyers.
And you're doing all of this while the police are still looking for Alianna, correct?
Yes.
How long did you spend, if you remember, canvassing the neighborhood and out flyers?
All day. We divided the city up. So myself and my director of curriculum instruction, we went as far as Tower City. We had folks up and down 93rd, up and down, all in the neighborhood. We were there all day.
What's the next thing we should do, Ms. Spires?
That evening, I went to a community event with the Peacekeepers and Alianna's family. There was news media there. We wanted to do a call to the community to find out if anyone had any information about her. We prayed that night, and that was the end of that night.
The next day, do you do anything looking for Alianna?
Not me personally, I went out of town, but I came back on Sunday and we canvassed again.
Tell me about what happens when you come back on Sunday.
On Sunday, we opened up E-Prep, and family and friends and faculty came to E-Prep. And again, we canvassed and started looking in the neighborhood. We did searches of the lots in the area, the homes in the area.
Now, is your building typically open on Sunday?
No,
Why was it open this Sunday?
because Alianna was still missing. And nobody could sleep and nobody could continue without knowing where she was.
What was the next thing we should do this time?
That Sunday we were there until about, it started snowing. I remember it was about late in the afternoon. I went home, and then a few hours later I got a call from my boss to let me know what had happened.
After you received a call from your boss to let you know what happened, what did you do next, Ms. Spires?
I had to call all of her teachers. I had to call everyone to tell everybody what happened. So that's what I did.
Why did you have to do that, Ms. Spires?
It's my school. She's my student. It's our community. I just felt like everyone had been putting so much time and effort into finding her that everyone needed to know what had happened.
And after you called the teachers and let them know the information you had come about, is there any other involvement you had with this case?
I went and told my students the following. There was snow and we were out of school for a couple of days. So I called my staff in to the building that following Monday, even though we were closed, so we could all be together. And then when school reopened, I had to tell all my students at the same time at a morning meeting.
Thank you. Nothing further about this topic. Any questions?
No, Your Honor, no questions for this one.
Thank you very much, Ms. Spires.